Greetings everyone, John Velasco here for PhoneArena. You're watching our in-depth video review of the HTC Flyer. It's the first tablet offering from HTC's camp, and it's a 7-inch model, so a little bit more compact than some of the 10-inchers out there. Now some of you might be questioning, why would you want to get this tablet if it only has Android 2.3 Gingerbread as opposed to the tablet-optimized version of Android 3.0 Honeycomb? But it has some interesting features, such as the optional stylus that you could use, which does add a little bit of functionality when you combine it with the HTC Scribe technology. For $500 for only the Wi-Fi 16GB version, it might seem a little bit up there in price, but hopefully it could give us a decent tablet experience. Now we have to admit that the HTC Flyer is by far one of the better built 7-inch tablets that we've seen thus far, easily beating out things like the Samsung Galaxy Tab and even the Dell Streak 7. It just oozes at every angle with HTC's top-notch quality. It has a design similar to some of their handsets, specifically the HTC Desire HD in Europe, and of course the Inspire 4G here in the US. You could tell by the unibody aluminum construction in the back, and also the plastic figures at the top and bottom, which does give it a little bit of an accent, but for the most part it's definitely easier to handle, a lot more compact to hold than the 10-inch models out there. You definitely notice a little bit of weight with this one just because of the choice of materials, but then again it is very solid and sturdy. It has a somewhat curved look to it towards the bezels here, kind of raised, and of course the thickest parts towards the middle. Very streamlined though for a 7-inch tablet, and we have to say it definitely rivals the iPad 2 in terms of build quality and choice of materials. Overall, it's a wonderful looking device. Needless to say that the HTC Flyer comes to life as soon as you turn it on, just because you're greeted with a 7-inch LCD display. It has a resolution of 1024 by 600 pixels, so honestly, in terms of just pixel density and also clarity, it's really good actually. You can tell the text is pretty sharp and detailed, good fine lines to it, and the best part about the Flyer is the color production. You can tell how iridescent it looks, quite natural looking. It doesn't really fade that much at different angles, and overall definitely one to stand out with the Flyer. In outdoor conditions though, you'll probably still need to set up to highest brightness to view stuff on screen, but it's definitely amazing to say the least. As you can tell on top here, you have the 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera, which you can use for self-portraits and even video chat. Below here, you have the touch-sensitive Android buttons, and on the right, bottom right corner here, you can tell, it has the area which you tap the optional stylus to activate the Scribble application and even the Note application with that. On top of that, if you tilt it to portrait, you have the same set of buttons, and you also have that same stylus button as well. On the left side of the tablet, you have the 3.5mm headset jack and also dedicated power button. It's kind of flat and flush, but it still exhibits a pretty good response when you press it down. While on the opposite edge, you have the micro USB port, which is used to charge and also data connectivity. On top of that, you can also output high-definition videos, but you have to purchase a separate MHL adapter, just like the one we saw with the Samsung Infuse 4G. And on the top edge of the tablet, you have the volume rocker right here. Volume up, volume down. It is kind of flat as well, but at least it offers a decent tactile response when you press it down. There's a notch here and over here, which are probably the microphones. And finally, in the rear, you have the notches here for the speaker, left and right channels, and you have also the 5 megapixel autofocus camera with a chrome trim around it. Unfortunately, no LED flash. We have to say that removing the top cover of the tablet's notoriously hard. Sometimes it feels like you're going to break it off, but once you get it removed, you have access to the micro SD card slot, so you could increase its memory capacity. Rather than finding the usual dual-core processor that we're finding nowadays with most tablets, the HTC Flyer instead relies on a single-core Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, which clocks in at 1.5 gigahertz and combines with 1 gigabyte of RAM. And honestly, even though it's not a dual core, we're more than satisfied with the level of responsiveness that it delivers. You could tell just moving between the home screen, very responsive. You could see all the nice graphical effects with it. Even when you set a live wallpaper on, it doesn't really struggle in any way. And it does just fantastic as far as just most basic operations. And the benchmark results are pretty good, but not mind-blowing. But still, when it comes down to just the user experience, it's definitely satisfying. Sure, we're impressed with the wonders of Android 3.0 Honeycomb, but in all honesty, with the HTC Flyer, we're still more than satisfied with its latest version of Sense UI running on top of Android 2.3 Gingerbread. It definitely gives you a nice tablet experience, and we notice a lot of core applications taking advantage of the size of the display, and we'll show you that in a little bit. With the home screen, though, it's in your carousel type view. You can switch between them, and you notice it's very fluid. A lot of nice graphical elements to it, which gives it a nice eye-catching appeal, a lot of different transition effects as well. If you flick really fast, you get that nice rotating carousel. And with the widgets here, you could tell also that it encompasses the entire length of each home screen as opposed to something a little bit smaller. So if you delete something, it's going to just tell you to put in a new one, just kind of like we saw with the Dell Stage UI. So you could go back in here, tap widget, and of course make a selection. We'll go into the widgets a little bit more in a short bit. If you do a pinch gesture, you get helicopter view, and of course it displays all the home screens at once. You could select something and it'll instantly jump into a lot of personalization, obviously. And at the app panel, it's laid out in your typical grid-like form. So now we'll quickly show you some of the widgets and also personalization aspects with the HTC Flyer. It's pretty much similar to any HTC device that we've checked out. You can tell with the distinguishable clock on the front, it shows you the weather. You have one here for people, for your favorites. You have also one for watch, which allows you to purchase videos and watch them on the tablet. You have the My Shelf widget, which allows you to quickly jump into a specific book on the tablet. You have one that will aggregate all your photos in one place and has a nice effect to it as you're looking at it. And you have also things like the weather widget, it gives you the upcoming conditions in the next coming days. Your mail widget, which we find traditionally on, again, other HTC Sense devices. Friend stream for social networking. And at the bottom here, you have these buttons that you could rearrange. So you have the app panel on the bottom left, and you also have things for like notes, the book reader, and also you're watching your movies. And the bottom right here is just for your personalization. You could change the different scenes to give it a slight different approach. And that's the great thing that we like about it. It just makes it look quite unique with each tablet. And of course, you have things like skins, also adding to its personalization aspects. You could get additional ones too. The other neat thing is just the lock screen, which we'll show you. So what we have it set here, you could rearrange the shortcuts on there, and we also set it so that the weather will display. So for example, if you turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, the nice thing about it, it's going to show you the weather directly on the lock screen, so you don't have to run the application. You can either unlock the tablet by moving the ring towards the middle, just like that, or if you'd like, you could also jump into a specific application. For example, if you want to run the camera app or the web browser, just bring it towards the circle, and it automatically will run the application. Definitely nice, and it also is pretty neat just getting access to them directly from the home screen. So now I'll show you the Gmail application with the HTC Flyer. It's pretty much like what you find in any other Android tablet out there. No optimization whatsoever, but you still have all the features like threaded view, the ability to label stuff. So it's pretty straightforward. Setting up email is pretty simple. Generally, username and password automatically will set up. But the interesting part about it is the HTC Mail application, which is tablet optimized. It utilizes this two-panel system we tend to notice with most tablets. On the left side shows you your inbox. On the right side, the email itself. It's just nice being able to get all this in one screen. You could also maximize it to read the full email right here. Overall, we definitely like it, and it goes to show that you don't need to have Android 3.0 Honeycomb to get a decent tablet experience. Besides the cramped space, we're more than happy with the messaging experience on the HTC Flyer, just because the HTC keyboard here is pretty nice. Of course, it's very responsive to touch, so speed typing is not a problem. It is a little bit on the cramped side, as you can tell, but you have quick access to some symbols, such as the numbers and even punctuations directly on the main layout. When you tilt it to portrait, it's a little bit easier, in our opinion, just because it's similar to a smartphone. With our thumbs, it's a lot easier to compass, and it's not that wide at all, so they have easy time typing up messages. Considering that it's Gingerbread, we're happy to see that a lot of the organizer apps are optimized for the tablet here, and we'll show you that real quick. You have the calculator, which combines both the basic and advanced ones in one giant screen. You also have things like the calendar, which utilizes the same two-panel layout. On the left side, your calendar, and the right side, your appointments. So you have a monthly view, week view, and also day view. just nice that it's optimized there. You have also things like the clock app, which gives you a lot of neat stuff. First of all, you have the desktop clock, which allows you to show you the weather, the information, all that stuff. On top of that, you have access to your calendar right there. You have also the world clock. You have the alarm clock right here. And you have the, I believe, the stopwatch, and of course timer. So it's definitely neat in that aspect. Just takes advantage of the display, gives you a lot of information. You have also dock mode, which is also another thing that allows you to show you specific information right here, and has also like the weather stuff as well. So overall, we're really impressed with how well HTC really thought out the platform. Without a doubt, the web browsing experience is fantastic with HTC Flyer, and of course it just radiates a good amount of speed here as you're navigating. Kinetic scrolling is pretty smooth. You have pinch gestures, of course. You can tell how responsive it is. It has no problems actually loading up heavy pages with a lot of flash content. If you get to the bookmarks, it just shows you a grid-like view of all the ones that you have on there. And on top of that, you could easily switch between the two, just like that. And of course it has flash support, so it'll play stuff like YouTube embedded videos. Again, we see HTC modifying their music player to take advantage of the extra real estate with the tablet, and the music player is definitely interesting to say the least. Again, that two-panel layout, your albums on the left, the content on the right. You could go further, look at different albums, and when you play music, it shows you the album cover, the track information, all that stuff. You could easily switch, as you could tell here, just by gliding over the album covers. And overall, it's definitely nice. You have the quick player too, right there. And when you turn on the device, you have the mini player right there at your disposal again. So it's pretty nice. And as far as the audio quality, it's definitely loud. It has different equalizer settings to better enhance the audio. But at the louder setting, it can tend to sound a little bit on the screechy side, but definitely powerful. So here's the gallery app with the HTC Flyer, and again we see the same interface. Left-hand side shows you the albums, on the right just the pertinent content within those albums. If you make a selection, you could do a usual set of stuff. You could also share it with a variety of different services. On top of that, you could even do some minor editing, and it's also add some effects to it. Video playback isn't a problem with the Flyer just because of its 1.5 GHz processor. You can tell running fairly smoothly, and of course the wonderful looking display just makes it even better just because it produces some nice looking colors, a lot of detail. Although the video here encoded in DivX has a little bit of pixelation going on with it, it's still pretty decent, especially when you run different formats like MPEG-4 or even XVID. If you like reading, you'll find the Reader application more than usable. It's actually powered by Kobo Books, and you can also purchase additional content with the store here. When you do make a selection, though, we notice that you're unable to actually read books in landscape. It's only a portrait orientation, but still, text is pretty clear and easy. You can tell just navigating between the pages. It has a pretty good effect to it, just like what you find on other e-readers out there. With the Android Market app, it's pretty much straightforward, just like you find on a smartphone. Nothing really different about it, but of course, the area where you could download additional applications to the tablet. Additionally, the Flyer has some HTC branded applications like HTC Hub and Likes on board, so it gives you some additional content. You could download stuff. It's also worth noting that the Flyer is compatible with HTCSense.com, so you could track and manage the tablet on your computer, so in the event that it's lost or stolen, you could view it on a map on the computer and even make the device ring. Another cool thing about the HTC Flyer is with the notification panel, you just bring it down from the top and it gives you some common functions directly on here, which is pretty nice. The brightness, rotation, turn on the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and also gives you the most recent applications that you ran. Here's the weather application with the Flyer, and has a lot of different stuff. Of course, the different locations on the left panel. On the right, it shows you some additional information such as the upcoming days. You can change from now, hourly, or even a 5-day view. And if you happen to love watching videos, you could just easily tap the watch icon right here on the bottom panel. And from here you could rent or even purchase different videos and movies, and you could watch on your tablet at a later time. When it comes to capturing photos with the Flyer's 5-megapixel autofocus camera, it's just barely passable with its quality. In fact, in outdoor conditions and good lighting, it captures a light amount of detail, and it's definitely on the softer side with its tones. With color production, it looks natural, but when you take it indoors under low lighting, it tends to look a little bit on the cooler side, while details kind of go down. Of course, you want to consider bringing along your usual point-and-shoot camera if you want to capture photos. Unfortunately, the Flyer's 720p video recording is quite disappointing to say the least. Details are almost non-existent, definitely muddy looking, a lot of artifacting going on, and you can tell with exposure it does constantly change. It might look good watching it here on the Flyer, but when you take it to your computer you definitely notice the poor quality. It does shoot at 30 frames per second, but it still has a little bit of jerkiness to it. And as far as audio recording, it definitely can sound a little bit crackly. So what makes the Flyer unique versus any other tablet out there? Well, you have to purchase, first of all, an optional accessory. It's $80 for this guy, for the Stylus. It's kind of pricey when you think about it, but it does offer some new functionality you haven't seen yet with other tablets. So first of all, you can't use it for navigation. You still have to rely on your regular finger to do all that. But for example, if you tap anywhere on the screen at any given time, so for example, if you're in the app panel and you notice something, you wanna take note of something, you can just tap on it. It automatically run the Scribble application. As its name implies, you could do a bunch of stuff. You could scribble, you could also draw whatever you want. The nice thing about the Stylus is that it is pressure sensitive, so if you push hard on it, it automatically will show you the different levels. As you notice, if we lightly tap it, it gives us a light figure, but if you press down on it, you can notice that it automatically will adjust. So it's pretty neat in that aspect, whereas a finger, you can't recognize the difference between those two items. So if you click the bottom right corner here where the Stylus icon is, the touch sensitive icon, it's only activated with the Stylus, and from here it gives you all the different pen selections here. You could change from like a highlighter, you could change the different types of pens, a brush. If you hold the top button on the Stylus, it actually will erase whatever you did, while in the other application, which we'll show you later, if you hold down the bottom one, it automatically will highlight certain stuff. Some of the other things you could do, you could change the color, obviously, of it. You could also change the type, as we mentioned already. You could do a brush, you could do a fine point pen, you could do a highlighter, a bunch of different ones, and you could also select the size that you want. Definitely has a lot of functionality, so if there's something that you come across that you want to take a snapshot and scribble on, you could use this application. Additionally, you have the note-taking application, which you could sync with Evernote. And a nice thing about it, if we go back here, it'll show us all our albums that we have. We could select the new one, for example. So, as we mentioned again, you can't use the Stylus to make selections. You have to still use your finger. But here with the note-taking application, you could do a bunch of stuff. You could type. You could also draw. And again, as we noticed here before, you could change the different types of pens that you want, so you could do all that. You could even attach an image, or shoot an image, shoot a photo, or capture an audio, put it in there. So for example, let's import something here. Let's just put down there. And we could also draw again from there. So it has definitely its benefits. And another nice thing about it is that we notice, you know how you usually type, you usually want to write something down? Now it doesn't interfere with your palm, because you can still write as our palms is touching the touch screen. It's not affecting any way the Stylus whatsoever, which is pretty nice. It comes in handy, of course, and you could save it, and it'll be saved to your album. And from here you could either share it, and of course there's a bunch of different functionality, which is definitely nice. Not something again you tend to see with most tablets out there. Battery life is pretty decent with the HTC Flyer. We set it to its medium setting for both the brightness and also audio. We played a movie constantly, and of course it's connected to a Wi-Fi network at the same time. We managed to watch the movie for 8 hours straight before it completely drained. As far as normal everyday usage, we easily got 1 day's use, so you'll know you get by without having any problems. Despite not having Android 3.0 Honeycomb from the onset, we actually don't miss it as much, just because HTC did a wonderful job in optimizing the Flyer for tablet usage. We definitely notice in a lot of the applications it takes advantage of the display with the 2-panel interface, and they heavily modified the platform experience to really not make you miss Android 3.0 Honeycomb, but still we'll be happy to see it either way coming. On top of that, the Flyer is probably the best 7-inch built tablet that we've checked out thus far. We like its overall build looks and everything. It's quite charming, and you definitely notice that it has a premium feel to it, but that's where it comes down at the end, just pricing. $500 is definitely pricey for a tablet like this, considering that it's smaller display. And on top of that, when you had to pay extra for the Stylus, another $80 to have that additional functionality, it does easily become a lot more expensive when you compare it to the competition out there, but you still have nonetheless a great experience. So if you have the money, definitely worth checking it out, just because it's stands up high there as far as the current offerings with Android thus far. So if you'd like to learn more about the HTC Flyer or for all latest cell phone reviews, news, specs, and information, you can check us out, PhoneArena.com.